about a couple years before that, was it 92 or so, the Indians had that terrible spring training crash, 93 maybe, and down in spring training. That was, as terrible as that was, as terrible as that was, this town was more personally affected by the departure of the Browns in 95. Yeah.
You know, actually, JK, you and I talked about it last week. I want to ask you, Dan, do you, because you were right there and you know firsthand from those days, how much Al Lerner, does it bother you how much he was involved at the time with the team being moved out and then him being the person that got the new Browns? I was totally bothered by it. I was tormented. I was angered. It was unacceptable for him to me that he would get the team. Why? He's the one who flew out Modell to Baltimore. And the secret knock was on the door of his plane. Yep. That should have disqualified himself from bidding for the Browns. I'll never forget the press conference Al Lerner called when he declared he was going to bid for the team. Now, the NFL announced in early in 98 or so, that they were going to hold an auction for the new franchise in Cleveland. And so a lot of people stood up and identified themselves as being potential bidders for the team. One of the first was Larry Dolan and his brother Charles up in New York. They announced that they were going to bid for the Browns. And a lot of other people stepped up too. Bart Wolstein, who one time owned the indoor soccer team here. Bart Wolstein. Then there was a fellow named Murdo, had a toy company down in Streetsboro, and a guy from Long Island, New York, had no previous connection with Cleveland, but and all of these people had regular football experts like Bart Wolstein, Jim Brown, and Dick Shaprath were going to be his football experts. Well, they didn't necessarily know anything about being a GM, but they would have hired a good GM. And the guy from Long Island, he had Paul Warfield and Calvin Hill. They were his football experts. They would have hired a pretty smart GM for him. And all of these people who identified themselves had a football expert. Even, by the way, Dick Jacobs, who owned the Indians at the time, said he was going to bid for the Browns. Well, all of these, there were 6 or 7. And then at the last minute, the deadline for entering the auction was held in, I believe, September of 94. Late entering the auction, Al Lerner called a press conference. 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a hot, early, rented a first-floor meeting room at the Wyndham Hotel. That's at Huron and Euclid. And I can remember all the TV trucks parked on Huron Road right behind the Wyndham, running their cables in the back doors into this meeting room. And here 4 people sat at a little riser at one end of this big meeting room. And there was Al Lerner, Cleveland Mayor Mike White, Carmen Policy, and Bernie Kosar. And this is the first time Mike White has been involved with any group. He didn't endorse any previous group. In fact, he stayed away from it. But today, there he was. So on that day. And so a couple of times, Mike White, the mayor of Cleveland, was asked how he and Al Lerner got together. What's his involvement here? And he said, well, 6 months after the Browns left, he said, Al Lerner and I began back-channel discussions, his exact words, about him getting the next team here. And then a similar question was asked a little later in the press conference, and once again his answer was 6 months after the Browns left, Al and I began back-channel discussions on the phone. What this was a setup. I almost fell off my chair when Mike White referred to the back-channel discussions. That was politics in Cleveland and Cuyahoga County back then. That's the way it always was. All back-channel discussions. Now people are going to jail for it. But right. By the way, Mike White has now been exiled by the FBI to Tuscarawas County, and his 2 top henchmen from City Hall, Ricardo Timor and Nate Gray, are still in prison
for the hijinks of what was going on at City Hall back then, and so that's Lerner still had to do one more thing. He had to outbid everybody else for this team, because the other NFL owners, they weren't going to give him any real favoritism, because they all shared in whatever he bought the team for. They wanted to get the highest price, and they did. It went up to $530 million. The Dolan brothers stayed in the auction till it reached $500 million, and after that they dropped out, and everybody else dropped out between $300 and $350 million. But anyway, so yes, did I resent him getting that team? That never should have happened. And now look at what has happened to all of these people. As I said, Mike White is exiled to Tuscarawas County, where he's raising alpacas or something, and Bernie Kosar sat up there with him, and he then his wife divorced him. He cleaned him out, and he filed for bankruptcy. Bernie did. Al Lerner, 3 years later, died of a brain tumor, and the only one who skated clean was Carmen Policy. He walked out with $50 million of Al Lerner's money, and went out to California, where he's growing grapes and making wine. So that's what happened. And that's why this franchise is cursed by the curse of Al Lerner, that he never should have gotten this franchise, and how it was screwed up badly from the start.
As good a place as any to hit the break here. When we come back, hey, it picks right back up hot and heavy. Dan Coughlin, Jonathan Knight, myself. Hope you're loving it. If you are, tell somebody else to tune into. You're listening to the Sports Fix, a very special Sports Fix with Dan Coughlin. We'll be right back.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into...
The Sports Fix. We'll be right back. It's an addiction. The Sports Fix. We'll be right back.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is ready to serve. With the holidays upon us, make sure to winterize your vehicle before going over the river and through the woods.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Have your sleigh in top form with 4 brand new tires. Choose from 13 top brands. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has the low price tire guarantee. Find the same tire at a lower price within 30 days, and they will refund the difference. Improve your fuel economy with the Works Fuel Saver Package. A certified technician will change your oil, rotate and check tire pressure, top off fluids, and perform a full inspection. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is open late Monday through Thursday to serve you better, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., and closed on Sundays. They're located just under the 480 bridge on Canal Road in Valley View between Rockside and Granger Roads. Mention the Sports Fix and you'll get a Quick Lane auto safety kit with the purchase of any 4 tires. Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is ready to serve. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Signs and Ship, the official printing source of the Sports Fix. Locations in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Florida. Find out more at signsandship.com.
News break.
Good morning, I'm Bob Picozzi. We have only 1 week left. Only 4 of the 8 division races have been decided. 5 other teams have clinched NFL playoff berths. There will be a winner-take-all game next Sunday in Atlanta. That's where the Falcons will host Coach Ron Rivera's Carolina Panthers with the NFC South title at stake.
Well, now it all comes down to one game, and that's all we could ask for, to be in that situation. Like I said, in spite of the tough start and the things that have happened to us, I think we've shown some resilience and we've fought our way through it, and I'm pleased with the fact that we have an opportunity, and I look forward to that opportunity next Sunday and see how things go.
So that means the winner of that division will either be 7-8-1 or 7-9. Two division leaders square off tonight in the final Monday night game of the season. AFC West champ Denver visits AFC North leader Cincinnati, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. College football, Memphis makes its first bowl appearance in 6 years this afternoon. The Tigers meet BYU in the Miami Beach Bowl, 2 Eastern time on ESPN. The attorney for Jameis Winston says the Florida State quarterback has been found not responsible for violating the university's student code of conduct in connection with an alleged sexual assault in 2012.
The John R. Wooden Award, presented by Wendy's, recognizes the country's top collegiate basketball players. Go to ESPN.com and search Wooden Watch for more information on the award and the nominees.
This is Doug Plagan, the voice of the Lake Erie Monsters. Happy holidays, everyone.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Come on, man. And with the local DBC news, LL Cool J with a triumphant comeback. For a solo. But tonight, don't call it a comeback.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix, streaming live here on the sportsfix.net. J-Rock, Jerry Myers with you, rocking hot and heavy. We've still got so much more to go. We're just about halfway through, bringing you out of the archives. The first time it's ever been cracked out of the archives and ever been aired anywhere except for its live airing months ago. Jonathan Knight, the sports writer extraordinaire, and myself hung out with legendary Cleveland sports writer, sportscaster, you name it, he's done it, Dan Coughlin, and we talked about Dec. It's already been a great ride. Getting ready to talk about some more about the Browns and their new ownership, the Indians and their history as well. What a great day. Hope you're enjoying it. Let's jump right back into it. Dan Coughlin here on the Sports Fix.
Hey, welcome back. And like I was saying before the break, something I kind of wanted to get into. We've all seen a lot of owners talking about who could have been the new owners of the Browns when they came back in that. But what are some of the, especially now you see Jimmy Haslam, Dan Gilbert, that new generation of Cleveland sports owner. Compare them to some of the owners you've seen over the years.
Oh, boy. I covered the Indians during some tough days when they were seriously, they were on the verge of bankruptcy. Back in the problem with the Indians started in 1959, after the 1959 season, when Frank Lane, who was the general manager, traded the home run king, Rocky Colavito, fan favorite, in fact, biggest sports hero. He and Rocky Colavito and Jim Brown were the two biggest heroes in Cleveland at the time. He traded him to the Detroit Tigers for Harvey Keene, who had been the batting champion the previous season. But, Harvey Keene was a leadoff hitter, a singles hitter with no speed. Gabe Paul pointed out to me, he said, that's a disastrous combination. It's, okay, Rocky Colavito had no speed, but he hit the ball out of the park. Harvey Keene was a singles hitter who clogged up the bases, no speed. So anyway, then the fans were outraged when Rocky Colavito was traded. And so then subsequently, Gabe Paul took over the Indians. Frank Lane was let go as general manager, and he hooked on with other teams in subsequent years. But then attendance plummeted, and Gabe Paul had the only way it could be reversed would be to get Rocky Colavito back. And so Gabe Paul made another disastrous trade. He traded to get Rocky back. Rocky, in the meantime, had been traded from Detroit to Kansas City, and then I think he might have wound up in Chicago, but I'm not sure. But the Indians, maybe it was a three-way trade to get him back from Kansas City, and the Indians had to send the left-hander, the pitcher who's had the elbow surgery. They named him the operation after him. Tommy John. They traded Tommy John to the White Sox, and Tommy Agee traded them to the White Sox to get Rocky back. And Rocky had 2 good years. with us. He drove in 100 runs, hit 30-some homers, and the fans came back in 65 and 66. But then Rocky was finished. And Tommy John went on to wound up with the Yankees, and he pitched the Yankees into multiple